Hello and welcome to another episode of Chillin' with Dylan. I'm your host Dylan, and I'm super excited to welcome back onto the show a long-time guest and contributor, Adam. Welcome back, bro. It's good to have you.
Welcome back. It's been a welcome back to me, I guess. It's been a long time. I missed the show.
Yeah, I miss you too on this show. Not that I haven't seen you much, but
Yeah.
but at least our collabs, it's good to resume it after a bit of a break. We actually collabed on a whole bunch of other different real life collaborations, right, Adam? We organized some dances at my wedding as a part of a group of guys. Some interesting bloopers from that, but yeah, a whole bunch of other fun things.
Yeah, that was probably the collab of the year last year.
Actually, we didn't record any podcasts last year, and that was where the main creative energy of us all was going to, really. Yeah. Anyways, so how did we meet, Adam? I think today's podcast is actually about meeting new people and making new friends. So, yeah, do you remember how we met?
Honestly, I know you sent me the agenda before this before this call, and I really try to think about it. I don't know if there's like one distinct memory of how we met.
Yeah.
I feel like we actually met back in first year uni. I think I might have been through one of our mutual friends. Like either first or second year uni. I've went past you. I'm sure I would have said hi. Like I would have met you at some point.
Yeah. Like in first year uni, like I think a lot of people, you're meeting so many people, eh? Like I think I just remember every class was new people and groups and friends of friends. I think we kind of started getting to know each other more like in second year, maybe towards the end. Like we joined, we were part of the same club I was joining, and you're already in it, I think, and we got to know each other more through.
So that was through a club called Social Innovation in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if they still exist, but you know, it was a great time when we were there.
We will remember. We remember the good times.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think it was kind of I felt like actually when we got to know each other, we didn't. It wasn't really. I feel like it didn't really happen by purposeful means. It just we had friends and they did things and we got to know each other, hung out, and then we started seeing each other more and organizing things. We started going on road trips a lot with a whole bunch of other friends, right?
It was like a whole bunch of small connections. Like it wasn't really I see you, I'm gonna be friends with you because you're cool. Although that is true, but it wasn't really as straightforward as that. It's just I might see you over here and
see you around.
Got a mutual friend over there and I bump into you and then you slowly get to know each other a little bit more.
Yeah, you kind of being oh yeah, I'll probably run into you the next time there's something. And I guess it goes from there. It's not I was just thinking when you meet people in that kind of environment, you're not looking through a catalog of people on say Tinder or something or Bumble or whatever.
Or Bumble for friends.
Bumble for friends. I mean, I guess you don't have to make a judgment beforehand. You just, what do you call it? Serendipitously. It's a serendipitous. Yeah, you just go meet and get to know people, which is pretty cool.
It just happens naturally. And I felt, I guess, looking back, especially in uni, that just felt so simple. You don't, or even high school, way back. It's just you didn't even think about it. You saw someone, especially for guys, you saw someone, you have something in common, and bam, you're instantly friends.
Yeah, why is it so easy? I've always, I'm sure you've wondered, but sometimes I wonder, during education, high school or university, it just happens without, I'm not even trying, right? And it was all these new people coming into my life. I can't turn it off even, it's not I want to. Sometimes you might, but it's something that I guess it just made me think, probably might actually take for granted until it's actually gone and you're into the workforce kind of thing. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I know back then you were really popular. There's so many people that knew Dylan,
Really?
I'll
I
talk to one of my friends and be like, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, I was hanging out with Dylan. And it's like, oh, Dylan Dom. I'm like, yeah, Dylan. Oh, I don't know if I just dox you there. Feel free to.
no. I mean, I'm trying to like die down the fame, so like that doesn't help. But like, just, nah.
But yeah, I just remember back in the day, it's like a lot of, I think a lot of it is because you were so popular, but also just in general, you have so, like I said before, you have so many of those, just mutual connections, those random bypassing connections.
Yeah.
This is a mutual friend. You've got a common interest. You're going to the same social club. Like all these things makes you meet because you're in the same environment, or even classes, right? Like if you're in the same classes, it's just so easy to meet people.
I think at the time I wanted to make new friends, and but I was less intentional about it. Then like I have to be more intentional about it now. But they I feel like it's really cool when you like naturally gravitate to the right group of people. But it's you made a good point of like, I guess you said I was popular, and maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. I don't want to like, that's for other people to judge. I actually wasn't that popular in high school, actually. I don't know about you, like, but
I definitely wasn't, but
I feel like as time passed, like it took a while, but like I think I made better decisions, and I was like, I actually like being around this group of people, but like I don't feel as like comfortable. Like I'm going to like try a different group of people and gravitate towards this kind of like a different energy. And maybe that's because I think I'm just lucky, because maybe like I think when you end up with the right community, maybe it naturally happens. I think this is quite deep. Wow, I just
so it sounds like it was almost a partially deliberate decision on your behalf, because you were out there looking for, I guess, like your community, or like your tribe, or people similar.
Did
you feel like you belong more?
I think it's hard to like pinpoint, but like maybe if you can think of like any points, let me know. But for me, I feel like it was an interesting time where like as I went into different environments, clubs and stuff, when I met like a few friends who were like Asian by chance, somehow like it just like accelerated or something. It was just like, I feel like in a lot of school contexts, especially higher education, like university, like that kind of like, there's the network effect. I was talking about this like recently. So like once you know someone, you just know all their friends and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. And that was especially the case in New Zealand. Auckland, especially.
Auckland, I don't think it's the same in other universities in New Zealand, but like in places like when I studied in UCLA, I could feel the same kind of like thing happen, like those kinds of networks. I feel like a lot of people like did like the same things, like you might do like a club for example in UCLA, it's like a lot of Asians are in dance clubs, and then you just know everyone if you do that. And same, I feel like a lot of people I knew was like business oriented, doing like extracurriculars to boost the CV, and then that just caused us all to meet each other, kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess similar people with similar interests, and you're in like a close proximity to each other, and that's how it's easy to.
Speaking of proximity, like what was so special? I know you went to like a really cool high school. I won't drop the name unless you want to, but what made it special in terms of meeting people there? It would have been pretty easy. I mean, a lot of people, so
well, I went to this this was back in Auckland. I went to this all boys school on the North Shore. If you're from Auckland, if you know, you know. But to be honest, I think it's probably a mix of a few different factors. One being that you go through a lot of crap together. Like it was a very competitive school, and then also as you go through the same thing, you have the same life experience, so therefore you tend to think in the same way, which is a good thing and a bad thing, but it's a great way to make those connections. And then I guess also the school itself really put a lot of conscious effort looking back into building a culture that everyone shared and to build that sort of connection.
Mm.
For example, one of the things is we had a school song, which I can still recite by heart. I won't do it here, but I can do it. And also had a school haka, which we had to perform every single year, and
Yeah.
in like a competition, which I can still do.
Yeah, I can
It's
do my one as well. That's
oh
I feel
really?
like that's common. Yeah, because I went to
Yeah.
a kind of boys' school. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have it so deeply ingrained in your psyche that it has that commonality with people that you went to school with.
Yeah. It's not necessarily as far as like indoctrination, but it's like a shared cultural value system, and
Yeah,
yeah, something like that, right?
exactly.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I think yeah, like also what you mentioned, like when you have a shared goal or like you have something in common, like obviously when you're in education, you're like you go to class and then you have to pass exams. Um, that's something that you all share, and like everyone wants to get, you know, a grade or something. That happens the whole time you're like in schooling, in college, university as well. I think that that's what actually maybe sometimes makes it a lot easier to like meet people, because you just have something so similar you can talk to without even trying.
Yeah, it's like more than 50% of your whole day you, you spend in the same space with the same
Yeah,
people. So, yeah.
yeah. Which I think now, like I guess looking at life after you finish university or school, it's a lot different. It's a bit of a different ball game, I'd say. I feel like since then, like the amount of new people I meet is a lot less, like per day, per year, per week, right? How do you feel?
Yeah, I agree. I When was the last time that you made a new friend? Or that's one of the questions I wanted to ask on
Oh
this.
yeah, good question. I think I think in terms of like good friends, it would have been like last year, as in either 2023 or probably even 2022. Realistically, maybe more 2022. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, probably like 2 years ago, like making someone who's like a pretty good friend. Yeah. What about you? How? Yeah.
I I would struggle to think of like a recent. I don't know if I would have made too many good close friends. Like I've
Yeah.
made a lot of friends this year, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Yeah.
But it's you don't have that shared history, you don't have that shared connection just yet, that depth.
Yeah.
Um, Probably the last time I had like I made a close friend. Um, Might have been through work, like
Yeah.
maybe 2, 3 years ago. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's really hard because like I don't actually think of like people like you're my friend. Like there's a whole bunch of people who's like you're my friend, or like you I know you, and
yeah,
then you're like I know you, like are you a friend? Like do I like you just like get asked that question like, oh, when was that time? So I guess this is an interesting thing, and I want to pose that to our listeners. When was the last time you made a new friend? Maybe you can think about that.
yeah. And tell us below. And how did you make that new friend?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that would be a really interesting story. I'm very similar to you. I think after like uni and school, like um, I feel like I've joined a few like groups and like met people, uh, and I think from there I've definitely made some good friends. It tends to have happened like after I joined like a larger group or community, rather than just like randomly bumping into someone. That's pretty rare. So like work, like you mentioned, right? That's also like a bit of a community in
Yeah,
a sense. You have something shared.
yeah. I think also another reason why it's harder to make friends after school and uni is maybe it's not so much that it's harder, but it's you don't want to make friends as much, or at least that's what I found for myself. Like my
Yeah,
capacity to want to meet new people and build that connection again is just gets drastically lower and lower the more friends that you already have and the more you are in that established routine. The
yeah,
last time I can really think of myself putting myself out there to really make those new connections was when I moved to Sydney. about 4 years ago, you're in a new environment, you don't know that many people, all of
Mm.
your existing bonds and connections have been sort of disturbed. And so, yeah, that opens it up a lot more. But I can also understand if you have been in the same place for a while or you've grown up there,
Mm-hmm.
your maybe your capacity is full, maybe your cup is full. Like you don't
Mm.
have that much more capacity to be able to take on new friends because friends take time, they take energy as well.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't even want to have new friends. But
Yeah, and that's actually perfectly fine as well. Like,
yeah,
you might be actually very family oriented, and there's some people, like, or like something else,
yeah.
like as a big part of your life. Not that you might not have friends at all, and that's like, yeah. I guess there's many reasons. I think like, yeah, I think when you're working, right, like there's so many priorities and responsibilities. You just want to like get through the day half the time, and then when you're like, oh, I feel social, like let's message someone. It's like I've got like like a few people, like there's a list of like like some easy people to hit up, and then some others, and then like your last option might be like, oh, like let's go with the chaotic option, let's go with like this red button. I'm gonna like rock up to something like a meetup, like I guess that's really not, it doesn't really happen often, like because you're so like busy, you got your day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
So I think like, yeah, so after you start working, maybe like there's a difference there compared to like especially yeah, like in education, like uni or college or whatever. You probably are like, today I'm just looking to stir up some trouble. Or like, I'm just gonna like talk to that. There's this guy who's like waiting at this like, I don't know, stall trying to sell me something. I'm gonna like just like ask them heaps of questions for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, like.
Well, have you done that recently?
No. Well, actually, so I think I've mentioned in a previous podcast recently, I've moved to Melbourne,
Yeah.
from Wellington where I lived, and I think like walking around the city, yeah, like sometimes you get approached. Seems to be a thing, in the busy city centers, and sometimes if you're like pretty all good with time, you can like actually talk to them. But I've never made a friend like that. Just saying.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Yeah. But I think it's still pretty important in terms of being an adult per se, to actually be meeting new people and making friends. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Well, do you want to explain why you feel that way, Dylan? Because
Yeah.
right now we just talked about why is it so hard and it's so much effort, like a lot of reasons to not. Why do you still think it's important to make friends?
Yeah. I think we're probably going to go with a pretty deep reason, because I think like when you are in your 20s and even 30s or like any point of life, really, I think you're still growing and becoming like, different versions of yourself. Like you're learning who you like to be around, or like finding how you interact with different situations like at work. And I think there's always people that you might meet that could like bring out like parts of yourself that are like really, really cool, or like you have a lot in common, and just like changes like the kind of way that your life is, if like you want some new ideas, or like to talk about new topics. Sometimes when you have like conversations with certain friends, it kind of defaults to certain things. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like a few random things and reasons. Yeah. I think it's kind of important, but it's not like a must-have. But I think like there is something about like being open to meet new people, even if you don't become friends. Like if you're working in a big organization, you'll probably end up meeting people and be forced to. And I think being able to like have small talk, or like kind of be comfortable with like interactions, like doing first impressions, is quite a useful skill. Yeah
Agree. I think it's just important to meet new people other than just like a work setting. You need to socialize with them.
Yeah.
But I like to make an argument out for a few main points, I think, for why I think it's important to have friends, even in your adulthood, even if you already have that core established group of friends.
Yeah.
well, personally for me, I guess, and with a caveat that I'm also a relatively extroverted person, I
Yeah.
do enjoy the interaction itself.
Yeah.
Just going out, meeting new people, and starting new conversation. That's something that gives me energy, and that's something that I do recognize as well. So it may not be the same motivating factor for everyone. Like for me, it makes me feel really alive. It makes me feel like I'm being an authentic version of myself, and I really enjoy that.
Mm.
But that might not be for everyone. For example, someone that's a little bit more introverted or a little bit more shy may not want to do that, and that's
Yeah.
perfectly understandable as well. But
Mm.
even so, I still want to say that there is value for going out and meeting new people.
Yeah.
One of the reasons being what you said, Dylan, like in your adulthood, you you really want to still be continuing to grow
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
and develop. And one of the easiest ways is to see more world perspectives, meeting different people, understanding how they think. And without that, your world view is never going to change. It's going to stagnate. It's
Mm.
going to stay the same. And that's not what, at least not what I want to be.
Mm.
In a couple of years' time, in 10s, 20, 30 years' time, I don't
Yeah.
want to be like that.
Yeah.
And then also finally, I think there was actually research on this before as well. Even if you don't make close friends, even if they're just like acquaintances or loose connections, this is this is where some of the best opportunities in your life comes from. Whether it's like the next job referral, or potentially like
Mm.
the next opportunity, even in a business, like you might move departments because you know someone else from a different department. You don't have to be the best of mates, but you have that
Yeah.
connection there. Or making new friends, or someone further down the track will eventually help you out in some way. So
Mm.
there's tangible merit to that, or even dating. Like I know a
Yes.
lot of people date online now. Like
Yeah.
I now that I'm single, I am going out a lot more, actively putting myself out there to try to
Yeah.
make these connections, not specifically to date, but it does help to grow your network, I'd say.
Yeah. I think honestly, like, on that aspect, yeah, like a lot of people just go straight into like an app. But I think, like I've heard of a lot of success stories of people who were introduced to their significant other through a friend who thought they'd be a good match, or just like randomly, like what we were saying, like,
Yeah.
she rocks up to a party and then he rocks up and he wasn't even like, planning to, and then they like, yeah, anyways,
Yeah.
like I feel like sometimes it does, like going out there and doing things and like potentially being in a situation where you meet people, if it's an event, sometimes that does lead to, yeah, like a relationship, and that's pretty cool as well. Like there's so many ways of, yeah, hearing that. But yeah, no, but I think like no matter what, yeah, I think we both agree it's a pretty important thing to be making new friends. Yeah, for many reasons. Yeah, and I think that just reminds me, actually, I remember when I was actually a bit younger. I'm no longer that young, but like at an early 20s stage, I felt like I was thinking, like, I got nothing to lose. If I'm in my 20s in this whole like long as decade that I thought would be like, take ages, but it's actually quite short. Just, time flies. But I was like, this is the best time to be meeting people, whether I'm like still, in university or like later. Like I want to be like focused on meeting new people, and it's a good opportunity, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Make the most out of it. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, make the most of it. Yeah, and I think the only thing is sometimes people are like, what way do I do it? Like, how do I do it? Like, I'm so used to this, routine I have, or like whatever. How would we actually make new friends or meet new people? What are some, tried and true methods that could potentially work? If those of you listening are like, do I want to do that?
Yeah. Maybe I want to go make some new friends. How would I do that? That's
Yeah.
a good question. It's not easy. I don't think.
It doesn't happen like without some intention, I think, as time passes.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you're in your mid to late 20s, you're
Yeah.
not in the same environment and just happen to bump into people who are similar to you.
Yeah.
Um, it does take a lot of intentionality. But what I found to work, one of the most common things, and we've already touched upon before, is work. You have that common trend. Hopefully, you have some sort of common bond, whether it's shared trauma of going through a really difficult workplace,
Yeah, yeah,
or just both really enjoying where you work, and having or just getting along with people.
yeah,
Everything's fine. But also outside of work as well, I think I've found going to activities and finding those common activities. Right now, I know a really big thing is run clubs.
yeah,
I'm not an exception. I have been running a lot, and run clubs are honestly a great way to meet new people, to really just make new friends, put yourself out there, because a lot of people are there by themselves or in small groups anyway. So it's really easy to meet those connections, and you already have that common bond of doing something that you enjoy.
yeah,
Um, but the one thing that I do have to say is that it's not just enough to be in those situations. You actually have to make an effort to
yeah,
talk to people and introduce yourself. It's surprise, wow. To make friends, you have to talk to them.
yeah,
But it really is so true. You just have to step outside of your comfort zone a little bit and really, really go ahead, introduce yourself, be interested in the other person when you're having a conversation, and just enjoy the process as well. Like it should be fun to make new friends. You should enjoy that process.
yeah, definitely. I think it's very important. I think when having conversations with people for the first time to be a good listener, yeah, and ask good questions. Yeah, like I just think about it. I'm like, man, I feel like that's something I need to like brush up on. Like there's always like things that I'm like, oh, I could have said this better, but you actually have to actually just go out there and like just be your true self, or like be yourself in any context, whether it's work or run clubs. Yeah, yeah, like I've definitely heard that run clubs are quite popular.
Yeah.
What would you say like um is unique compared to other types of sports clubs, like say a football club or whatever? What kind of differentiates it?
Honestly, I don't know if there's much that differentiates it, to
Yeah,
be
I just,
honest. It's
I
just
just think,
it's
yeah,
the most popular thing right now, so there's a lot of people doing it. So you have a lot of people to choose from.
yeah,
Um, and maybe also another thing is it's not as clicky.
yeah,
People tend to go by themselves or like in smaller groups. And if you see that person standing over there by themselves, the only piece of advice is why don't you just go up to them and say, introduce yourself, say hi. They're probably thinking the exact same thing. They're having an awkward time. You'd much rather, like, you're already, to me in a run club, I'm already there to run anyway. I
yeah,
might as well do it while talking to someone else and having fun than doing it by myself and being miserable. So
mm,
why not just go for it?
yeah. It's already designed. It's like almost like a system built for people to like interact. Have a conversation, get to know each other. That's cool. I think that's actually very cool. Like, I actually, some of the best connections I've made is like, at an event, there's someone who's just not talking to anyone, and people don't seem to be going up to them. I'm like, yeah, like it's just nice to yeah, as another human, just be like, oh, hi, what's your name?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I guess maybe those are just opportunities waiting for you to like take hold of.
exactly. But
Also,
I want to put the question back to you, Dylan.
yeah,
I know you've recently just moved to Melbourne
yeah.
a couple months ago. So obviously you would have been like some people in Melbourne, but not that
Yeah.
much. What's been working for you to meet new friends?
Yeah, there's a few things I've done. I came here by myself, first of all, and I had an intention, it'd be nice to meet a whole bunch of new people. So I've tried a few things. These are things that I wanted to do anyway. But like it did broaden my network. I signed up to like a language class. Well, this is something a lot of people probably go through like us, but I needed to brush up on my Chinese language. So I did a class. And then I was like the only Asian person in it. But like, and it was like, dang, I need to like, these people are actually pretty good. Like, like these are not people learning it for the first time. Or like, yeah, learning it for the first time. But, like there's a lot of commonality when you like, have that, like similar to like a run club, is a mutual interest or activity, things like that. I think, created a few connections, but I didn't continue it for like, longer term. So things like that were like, very nice to see what locals do, or like, what people from the city are like as well. I think I've been able to reconnect with former friends that were from like New Zealand originally, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, finally, I think a really cool thing is I joined a church in Melbourne. Like I used to go to one in New Zealand, and the one I go to is actually massive. It's insanely big, and there's like thousands of people, I think, which is
Wow.
like a big step up in terms of size from little old New Zealand. And yeah, I've met a lot of people through there, and it's just like, a lot of like casual interactions, like, hi, I'm Dylan. What do you do? I'm a podcaster. Just but like just like some like random bands, right?
Yeah, I love
but
that.
yeah,
That's your introduction now. It's like, I'm a podcaster. I love that. That is so cool.
yeah. I don't use it too often actually. But yeah, I think actually starting out with a good intro line or like a random question is kind of cool. I wish I was brave enough to do that more. Sometimes you got to be like a bit more bold. Say something like, "Oh, I like your hat. I like your whatever shoes." That can be a good way to make an impression. But yeah, yeah, I moved. My wife is here in Melbourne as well, and we've been meeting a lot of people together. Yeah, like through our like small group, and there's a lot of cool people we've been meeting. So yeah, there's a few ideas there. But I think it's actually up to you. Like, I think when you're part of like a group, you actually have to like make the next step after meeting them, and be like, do you want to grab a coffee, or like even if you don't like asking like so forward, you can be like, I quite like having coffee here. Do you know any good spots? And then be like, I hope they like, I hope they ask me for a coffee.
Yeah. I mean, in these interactions, someone has to make the first move. Might as well be you.
Yeah, I know. So I think you actually have to like. I think I actually like getting to know people one-on-one. I think that's the big thing. Like, having a sit down over like lunch, coffee, dinner. It's quite cool. I want like you see them in a group, and then you get to know them more. And I think that's the beginning of like a really good, solid friendship. If you like move past the first stage, which might be awkward.
Yeah.
Or like you don't even remember the name. Sometimes you meet someone in like a in a day where you meet others, right?
Yeah, that's so true. Remember the names. That's a good tip.
Yeah, is there any way that you use to remember names? I'm sure you're good, but I think I have only one main way for me.
I don't even have any methods, honestly. I think I just try to remember it, but I'm also not scared of, like, because I've forgotten so many people's names, I'm not scared to say, oh, hey, I've actually just forgotten you. I'm so sorry, I've forgotten your name. Do you mind just repeating it to me? Or like, oh, what was that again? Actually, a good trick someone else used recently. So I was in a group setting. It was one of my friends I just recently met, and he's like, what were those three people's names again? And before I had a chance to respond, the people showed up, and I sneakily was like, oh, hey, so and so, how was that meal that you just got? Oh, did you get the utensils for your meal, so and so? And I was like, oh, so and so, I'm really sorry, I forgot to get some water. Do you mind grabbing that for me? And just asking your friend to really sneak that in between like the different people, and just calling them out by name and making sure you catch up the next time.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good strategy.
Yeah, but that's assuming someone else knows their name.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, like sometimes you actually have to ask like that other person, like, hey, like, can you tell me what that name was?
Yeah.
Also, I think for me, I sometimes need to see them on like social media, like Instagram or Facebook, and then once I see the face in them, I'm like, sweet, like, that's them. Like, I've connected dots, and then it's like, do I follow them? But it's like, that's a bit too forward.
Yeah.
I think everyone does. Like, a lot of people do this, right? It's like, I just need to know who they are, but it's like, is it the right time? But
And
I
then
think
you add them on Instagram later, and they're like, "Why is my name already coming up in your search history?"
yeah. I think at least nowadays, I feel like you kind of like there's a part of like when you've met someone like in person first, like adding them on a social media platform kind of feels like a more like you finally formalize it. It's like, well, like you can't like disregard or run away from this connection unless you like block them or like do something reverse. It's like
Yeah,
that's it. We're now in each other's like sphere of influence, which is kind of cool and nice sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. So that's a lot about we've talked about like new friends and new connections, new people that we meet or come into our lives. I just want to bring it back. I'd say we're pretty good friends and we're pretty old friends in a way, not in terms of age, of course.
I mean,
But
maybe, but yeah.
we always have this thought or debate, right? Like, are we old? But we're definitely old friends in terms of, I'd say we have many years of like so much like shared experience, whatever, right? Like, what do you think is valuable about having an old friend versus a new friend? Like, how do you think they have value in different ways, or like, what do you see? Where do you see the role of those in your life?
I definitely think both are very important, but for very different reasons. I think old friends, getting a bit philosophical here, but old friends kind of make you who you are.
Yeah.
The saying where they say you're the combination of the 5 people that you're closest with.
Yes.
They have a lot of shared history with you. They influence you just as how you influence them. It's so important to keep and maintain those friendships and putting in effort for those friendships. I'm really grateful, for example, for us to have our friendship, but also in like the wider friend group, which live all around the world, and we go to each other's weddings, which is a friendship I'm really grateful to have.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, like I said earlier in this podcast, it is really important to have new friends as well. It expands your world horizons. And also it's those weaker, quote unquote, weaker connections that really help you either, develop your career, make those new connections, or help you in some way. And it actually is really important to keep having those new connections.
Yeah.
What about you?
I totally agree with you. I think I'm on a similar boat. Yeah, to be honest, I really value all my old friends, as in, it just sounds like I'm calling them old. I feel like some friends that like our mutual friends listening to this will probably be offended, but but I love all my old friends. Yeah, like they're really awesome, and I think they help you keep grounded. Like they might know you from a period in life, like you might have gone back from high school or even earliest, like primary school, right? Like, and they know what you were like and how you changed to be the person you are now. And I bet a lot of them are probably really proud of where you've got to.
They knew Dylan before he was the famous podcaster.
Well, this is going a bit too like this is a bit too high, but I don't think that's. Anyways, yeah, like old friends can come up with good lines like that. Let's just say,
yeah.
No, but like, like just value, the relationship. They bring a lot. It's like you can always go to them if you have like things to talk about or like just want to hang out. And you have a lot of trust, and I think that's awesome to have friends that you trust. It's really hard to come by as well. I think to build up trust, like so much with a particular person or friend group. Some friend groups are like really cool, just like some of ours. So new friends though, I think there's a lot of value in that as well, like we talked about. Like I just want to say one thing. I really have enjoyed the last couple of months. I've met a lot of cool people, and I think I'm making many new friends, probably not heaps compared to before, but starting to make friendships flourish, right? But there's a lot of people that are quite that can be quite inspiring if you want to like get into more things that like you're interested in, where like your old friends might like do that less, or like you want to, let's say, do some exercise, like run better, then you can meet people like these new friends in a environment can actually like inspire you to become a better version of that self of yours. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So that's a really good point. It's, you don't have to have friends for every part of your life.
Yeah.
They could just be a friend that you really know through that particular context, like
Yeah.
exercise, running. Like, they're your running buddy. That's fine, and that's okay as well.
Yeah. I think like there's so many things that people, like each person is unique and has things you can learn from. So yeah, I find it really cool to just learn from people and see how they approach their life and like pick up ideas from them. Yeah. So that's like something cool about making new friends. I just want to say also that it makes me really happy when I see my old friends who meet new friends, and yeah, just to see how that happens. And I find it really interesting and cool when some of my old friends, create new social circles, and makes me curious to know who these people might be. But also vice versa. I think when I make new friends myself, it's also quite interesting to start slowly seeing who their old friends are and who've been the important people in their lives as well. Well, on that note, I'm grateful that you came on the show, Adam. It's been a really fun ride. Both our friendship, which has been going for a while, for sure, and our podcasts today. So yeah, thanks for coming on. Do you have any last thoughts to share?
No, it's been really fun. It's been a while since we've last recorded this, so it's
Yeah.
a bit out of practice maybe, but yeah, it's really fun. It's really brings back a lot of memories. Really, really enjoyed myself. I guess probably the last thing to say, to the audience. Hopefully today we've talked about why it's important to have new friends, and maybe inspired you to maybe go out and make a few new friends.
Yeah.
Hopefully a few tips and tricks on where to find them and how to approach them. But yeah, give it a go. Let us know how it goes in the comments. Or
Yeah.
tell us when was the last time that you made a new friend?
Yeah, I'd be really keen to hear. We're keen to make new friends through Chillin' with Dylan as well. Just if you're a listener, just want to say that. So on that note, yeah, you just listened to another episode of Chillin' with
Dylan!
Yay.